Welcome back, aviators. So as I was nearing my private pilot check ride, a few days before, my instructor and I were in the office doing our logbook audits to make sure I met all the requirements. So he just stopped, sat back in his chair, and he looked at me. And he said, "You're going to shave before your private pilot check ride, right?" So I immediately asked him why. And he said, "Because you're going to be a professional pilot, and pilots can't have beards and long hair." At the time, I was in a rock band and I had really long hair. He said, "You told me when you first started that you wanted to do everything perfect, everything by the book, because you wanted to be a professional pilot. So this is his way of telling me that I need to get a haircut and a shave because professional pilots don't have long hair or beards." He said, "This is part of the journey. You have a long road to go, and this is just one step to reach your goal." Then he went into the reasons why it's unsafe to have a beard. Yeah, you heard it. Unsafe. I didn't even know that was a thing, that a beard could be unsafe to be a pilot. Comment below. Let me know if you knew that or if you had no idea as well. So my mind was boggled. I asked, why? Why is it unsafe? And, he went into this long, elaborate explanation, basically saying that the facial hair on your beard can interfere with the seal on the oxygen mask if it was needed for an emergency. And, some emergencies that would require the use of an oxygen mask are rapid decompression, rapid depressurization, smoke or fumes in the cockpit, and now, more importantly, if we're on a flight and someone thinks they might have contracted the coronavirus, throw on the oxygen mask and we're not breathing the air around us, so that could potentially be used for the oxygen mask as well. He then pulled up on the computer. There's actually an FAA advisory circular. It's 120-43 if you want to look it up. It's quite old. I think January 27th, 1987 is the date on it. But an advisory circular is basically an amendment to a rule or something that the FAA found outside of the rules of the FAR. So the title is "The Influence of Beards on Oxygen Mask Efficiency." So I went ahead and read the advisory circular from top to bottom. And basically, the conclusion of the advisory circular is that the presence of facial hair does interfere with the seal on the mask. In the meantime, I believe it was 2018, Air Canada asked a university in Vancouver to do a test on oxygen mask and beards. So the conclusion was that the beards actually do not interfere with the seal on the masks. They can seal because of the pressure that's being forced on your face. The beard doesn't interfere. So they amended their rules and procedures to allow their pilots to have neatly trimmed beards up to about a half inch. That's only in Canada. It's not in the U.S. So in the U.S., you still need to trim your beard as of this, or as per this AC 120-43 that's still in effect. So I want to ask you a question. Do you think it's unprofessional for a pilot to have a beard? What would you think if you walked up to your airplane and you saw your pilot with a beard? Would you be scared, or would it make you unsafe? Comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm very curious. So later that night after dinner, I was sitting down watching TV, just kind of relaxing, and it hit me. I think it's time to get cleaned up. At this time of my life, I'm actually in a rock band. So it's part of my image to have a beard and long hair as a drummer in a rock band. Even though I knew the band was coming to an end, it was really hard to just go to the barber shop and get cleaned up. And I knew going to the barber shop and taking care of everything, it was like letting a part of my life go. It was letting the band days go, and I was moving on to another amazing part of my life. So I sit here right now with a full beard in 2020. It's because I haven't shaved in 2 months. Only because I haven't flown an airplane in 2 months because of the coronavirus. I've been staying home, going out only for groceries and food, just like my work asked me to, because they need me ready to go, ready to fly when they need us. So a trip popped up on my schedule for next Friday. So we all came together. We're actually going to do proficiency flights on Monday in the G650 so that we can go through our flows, go through the checklists, do takeoff and landings, and just become proficient with the airplane again. We're going to go and do instrument approaches because we all haven't flown an airplane in 2 months. It's not like riding a bike. If you're not doing it, you lose muscle memory. With that, it's also going to accomplish our currency. So we need 3 takeoff and landings within 90 days. So we'll take care of that in case this trip cancels. We don't have to go scramble and do takeoff and landings. And it's going to do the engine runs. So the engines will be ran up, and also it exercises the landing gear so you can bring them up and down so that the mechanics don't have to jack up the airplane and work the landing gear, because that's a pretty tedious job. The airplanes, Gulfstream 650s, can only sit around for about 60 days before you have to fire up the engines and do the landing gear exercising. So besides the takeoff and landings and just going out to fly to stay proficient, some of the other things that pilots do to stay proficient are instrument approaches. You constantly have to do those so you don't lose that skill. And also, as a jet pilot, we go to training. So every 6 months, we go to training. We have a week of training, 2 days in ground school, going over systems and stuff like that, and then 3 days in the simulator going over flying procedures, emergencies, instrument approaches, circling approaches, and things like that. So pilots are constantly getting checked and trained and staying proficient in their skills, because it's a very technical skill, and if you're not doing it, you're definitely not going to be as proficient and as safe as you could be. I even go through the procedures here at home. Look, you can check out on the back wall. I have a cockpit poster of the G650, and I'm just going through, remembering what all the buttons do, going through my flows, and going through checklists, so I'm sharp as soon as I get into the airplane. So with that being said, I have to shave. My instructor won't sign me off for the check ride until I do, and that's just something I need to do to progress in my goals as a professional pilot. The next day, I drive to the barber shop, and I do not want to go in. This is the big moment where I transform my life. I'm going from hating my job as a union construction worker working in Philadelphia and a rock and roll drummer, which I loved, to transform into being a professional pilot flying multi-million jets around the world. So I sat in the barber's chair, put on the cape, and the barber looked at me and he said, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Well, I don't really want to, but I have to get cleaned up because I'm becoming a professional pilot." And he turned and looked and smirked, and he said, "Well, it's just like playing for the Yankees. You have to look clean-cut and professional, or you're not playing for the Yankees. So it's the same thing." He said, "So you want to be a professional pilot? You have to be clean-cut, or you're not going to fly airplanes around the world." I looked at him and smiled, and I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right. Even though I hate the Yankees. Go Phillies." Even though I didn't want to shave and a haircut when I first walked into the barber shop, when I walked out of the door, I knew that was the next thing I needed to do to become a professional pilot. And you couldn't wipe the smile off of my face for a week. So there's going to be some hard times becoming a pilot. You just have to get through them. And if you have any questions or anything you're unsure of, just shoot me a message or leave a comment in the video, and I'll gladly respond and help you in any way I can. And also check out my other videos where we travel around the world, talk about different topics, and you can see what it's like to be a professional pilot. I'm a corporate pilot, and you can see exactly what it's like to be a corporate pilot. So why don't we head to the bathroom, we'll get shaved up, and we'll head to the hangar for our flight. Well, the time has come. I'm getting rid of the beard. It's time to go flying, and I'm not allowed to have a beard for safety and because it's not professional. Let's do this. That was step one. Definitely getting there. Now it's time for the razor. So as you can see, I'm clean shaven. I'm ready to go to the hangar to do our proficiency flights for the night. If you want to know more about proficiency flights, check out my video on proficiency flights and how we're staying proficient during COVID-19. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next flight.